As I continue to peruse the news, I came across a little something that reinforced a video I made. A couple of things, actually. Reinforced two things. Two videos that I'd made recently. One about just the other day that I was talking about the future U.S. proxy being born. And secondly, that the U.S. knew in Syria. That we knew. We just did the old payola. We paid them off. Well, now we got these stories. U.S. had foreknowledge of HTS offensive to topple Assad, prepped its proxies to join. That's, of course, out of Zero Hedge, Tyler Durbin. Zero Hedge, one of the greatest sites of all time. And they go into how the U.S. had foreknowledge of this, and as you dig deeper, and of course I'm going to link some of the articles that I have here, we come to this. Antiwar.com has a report U.S. had foreknowledge of HTS offensive to topple Assad and prepared other rebel groups to join. Other rebel groups like what we talked about the other day, the Turkestan Islamic Party. Remember that. I'll link that video here about the new U.S. proxy that is aimed at China, which is getting its feet wet in Syria, getting its baptism of fire. As we scroll down into this article, it gets well into it. In October, U.S. brought several other Sunni Muslim militias under command of RCA, swelling the force from 800 fighters to about 3,000. All the fighters are armed by the U.S., and U.S. pays their salaries of $400 a month. The U.S. also backs Kurdish-led SDF forces in eastern Syria, but the RCA is a separate force. One of those forces that the U.S. brought into its ranks was TIPS, TIPS. We're going to be hearing a lot about them in the years to come. I'm going to link that video because I think it's very important that everyone sees what the Turkestan Islamic Party is going to be doing and what their purpose is. We get back to the article. When the HTS-led force began its offensive from Syria's northwest Idlib province and advanced south toward Damascus, the RCA headed north. According to the Telegraph, the U.S.-funded group now controls about one-fifth of Syria's territory. Mahadani spoke to the paper from a former Syrian government airbase that was used by the Russians outside the city of Palmyra. Mashadani said RCA and HTS were cooperating during the offensive, and the U.S. coordinated the communication between the two groups from An Talif. The U.S. coordinated between the two groups. Of course they did. Because they're the ones who paid off the generals, the colonels, the high-up enlisted personnel. There was payola. They talk about how this started in October. It became clear in October that who was going to be winning the election here in the United States. And from that point forward, they knew they had to get their plan in motion. We go back to the article. I want to repeat that. RCA and HTS were cooperating during the offensive, and that the U.S. coordinated the communication between the two groups. The U.S. had celebrated the overthrow of Assad and made it clear that it's willing to work with HTS despite the fact that the group is an offshoot of al-Qaeda and designated by the State Department as a foreign terrorist organization. Well, we've got a president thinking of commuting the sentence of a domestic terrorist, so why wouldn't we work with foreign terrorists? We've done it in the past. The Telegraph report makes clear that the U.S. was aware of the planned HTS offensive. RCA members said that the U.S. told them about the opportunity to overthrow Assad in early November, about 3 weeks before the offensive started. Mashadani said that the U.S. wanted his group to capture territory to keep out of the hands of ISIS, which RCA has helped the U.S. fight in the past. The Biden administration is sending high-level State Department officials to Damascus to meet with HTS leaders. And I have that article linked as well. We knew. Because we're the ones who caused it. We made sure all the payola went out. Everyone who needed to be paid was paid. Israeli forces moved up from the south to take more secure positions to secure the Golan Heights and are essentially within long-range artillery distance of Damascus. ISIS controls Homs, Hamas, and all the way down into Damascus. Their guy now wears a suit, has a $10 million reward on his head. We control basically the eastern part of the country along with the Kurds, which coincidentally has the oil fields. Also the best farmland too. That should not be just thrown out. That's an important factor. And the Russians are currently moving equipment and personnel out. What's become clear is that we knew. What will become of Syria? I don't know. I think it'll be divided. Turkey in the north will control basically most of the north, short of what the Kurds control. What we control, probably something to do with the Jordanians, or possibly just given tacit control to the Israelis. And what happens with the ISIS, who knows? That'll probably be a civil war for the next God knows how long. I feel bad for the people of Syria. Again, I've said it in the videos in the past. If you're a Christian in Syria, you might want to consider getting the hell out. You might want to consider getting the hell out of there quickly. But it's clear. We knew. We knew for weeks. Everybody seemed to know. It must have been like the worst kept secret in Syria. The only one who didn't know was Assad. Maybe he did know. After all, he did get flown to Moscow. So maybe he did know. Had all these plans in place. Could all be a giant game. Either way, we're the ones being played. We're the ones being played. The United States knew. We made it happen. What more is there to say? Whatever happens in Syria is on our ass. It's on us. But with that, that's all I got. I do appreciate you. Everything I talked about will be linked in the story. And thank you.